Finally, locking hubs for your factory Jeep JL or JT axles. Let's go take a look. Hey everybody, it's Bubba with X's 4x4, where we build badass 4x4s. And today we're gonna show you a cool product that we came across on the internet to solve a very real problem in the Jeep Wrangler and Jeep Gladiator. But first, let's do a little backstory. We picked up this Jeep Gladiator, actually the customer dropped it off to us for a 392 conversion a couple months ago. We did the conversion, we put the lift on, we re-geared the Jeep, we put the wheels and tires on it, everything. We even had a Go Fast camper put on it. Very awesome, by the way. Highly recommend those. And then we started to test drive the vehicle, and we noticed a very obnoxious sound. It was definitely driveline related because we did everything to this Jeep. It was just very noisy. It sounded like driveline noise. And we would take the front drive shaft off and it would go away. So we knew it had something to do with the front drive, you know, something to do with the front end. We were very perplexed. I mean, we've had issues where we've had bad gears. And so we started there. We opened up the front differential. We checked the front gears. Everything looked good. We replaced the gears anyways, because sometimes you just don't know. I mean, we put new bearings in. We put new ring and pinion in, everything. Put the Jeep back together, test drove it, same exact thing. Okay. Maybe it has something to do with the drive shaft. We checked the balancing out, put it on our machine, everything looked good, but you never know, so we built another drive shaft for it.
Put that in there, drove it. And then we thought maybe it's a transfer case, because in this one particularly, once we modify, we build a very specific transfer case for these. When we do a 392 conversion, we like to put a 2.72 transfer case. So we'll take a regular sport transfer case, and we'll take the front half of a 392 Wrangler transfer case, and we sort of put all the parts together to make a 2.72 transfer case for the Wrangler 392, since that's the transmission we use. And it bolts up perfect, and there's no all-wheel drive and all that kind of stuff, right?
So we think maybe something during the assembly of that transfer case, something went wrong. So we take that transfer case off, we open it up, everything looks fine, but again, just to be safe, we built another transfer case. And we put that one on there. Same problem. And like I said, we could take the drive shaft off, but you know, that really isn't gonna solve the problem because we need four-wheel drive.
And may God have mercy on your soul.
I mean, we knew this about the truck, but we really didn't think it was that big of an issue. But it has this weird axle in it, in the front end. And this is something that you guys probably have seen. There's probably some threads out there on this on the internet. Sometime last year, either late 24 or sometime in 25, Jeep started putting the front axle from the 392 Wrangler in it, which means you can tell on this side still, we still have the CV axle in here. So we don't have U-joints. There's no fad. The placement is there, but it's got the blank plate there. So there's no actual front axle disconnect motor on the axle. The bad part about this is that means the entire front drive line is turning 100% of the time. We're back to the days of the JK. A lot of people have actually, you know, we were a little bit scared of the fad when it first came out, but we got kind of used to it because it ended up not being a real big problem. Yeah, you might see failures every now and then, but nothing like widespread. So it's actually been kind of nice having the fad. Well, Jeep, I don't know if they just have a surplus of these axles or what the deal is, but they started throwing that axle in anything basically that was a Rubicon.
Put a
fad
on it.
So, you know, we checked. The guy has some Rubicon, regular Rubicon transfer case. It's not all-wheel drive, but he has this axle in it. And turns out, I mean, that's the noise, right? Like, this thing is turning all the time, and the only way to make it stop doing it is to somehow make the fad work. Well, Jeep didn't put the wiring harness in there for us to actually just put in a fad motor and plug it in and kind of go into the BCM and turn it on. No, so we can't even just make the fad work on it. And we really scratched our heads on this. And I remember seeing something a while back about a guy online who made manual locking hubs for these Jeeps, but I never really paid attention to it because I didn't think, well, what was the point if the fad is on there? Well, we got into a point where we're going to start running into more of these Jeeps that don't have the fad, don't have all-wheel drive, and are going to be noisy after we do all this work to them. And, you know, I mean, no matter what we set the caster to, no matter what we do, the Jeep just wants to be noisy. It's not super noisy, by the way. A lot of you are probably going to be able to live with it. But when a guy goes and he puts a Hemi in this and he spends a lot of money on suspension, wheels, tires, engine swap, all that kind of stuff, nobody wants to hear a new noise in the Jeep, even though we all kind of expect it. And like I said, it wasn't that bad, but it's probably something most of you can live with, but we don't want this guy to have to live with it. And ironically enough, we have a two-door JL over here that we're doing a 392 conversion on that ends up having the same exact axle. So what you're about to see in this video that's happening to this Jeep is also going to happen to that Jeep. So let me talk about what we're experiencing here. When you come over here and you turn this wheel, all right, for those of you that aren't familiar with what's going on, You turn this wheel, everything is turning across the board. Your ring and pinion's turning, which means your drive shaft is turning, which means also parts in your transfer case are turning. So when the FAD isn't operational and everything's turning up here, you're experiencing a lot of wear and tear on your Jeep that really is kind of unnecessary and noisy, apparently. So after we do all this work, I was like, hey, see what you can find. And we dig around on the internet and we come across the Ram Man.
By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Now, if you recall the Ram Man, you're going to meet a very wild character online, on the phone. And you can talk to my sales manager, Ryan. You can talk to Scott, my purchaser. You can talk to me because I've talked to these guys. And he's quite the character. And if you read some stuff online, you're going to find some negative reviews on him. Well, he's just a very old school dude. And he's not up to speed on all the technology and, the kind of things that we work with every day. So he's a little bit slower. Sometimes orders probably get lost or whatever, and people just take for granted that he's probably on the same keel or that everybody else is out in the world as far as keeping track of orders. And I don't think that's the case, because he even sent us a picture of our invoice, I think, right? Wasn't it something? It's on an old invoice book like people used to use 30, 40 years ago before technology really took over and we were keeping track of everything electronically. So I kind of appreciate that about the guy. But if you ever listen to his voicemail recording when he called, I mean, that's worth just calling. Don't spam the guy with phone calls just to listen to his voicemail. But if you are interested in this product and you get his voicemail, you're going to get sort of an entertaining message in there.
That's been completely hijacked by some crooks and some thieves out of Canada.
Basically, he's just not going to put up no bullshit. And so I guess some people don't like that, and they gave him some negative reviews. Now, and truth be told, when we did order this kit, he had a manufacturing issue. It took a couple of weeks longer to get the product than we originally hoped, but it showed up, and so far we really like what we see. So for $21.95, Ram Man sent us a new unit bearing. All right, this is what is going to go on. Actually, he sent us two of everything I'm about to show you, but we installed one on one side of the Jeep and we left the other side the same, which is what you just saw. So we still got some parts there. This is a modified unit bearing for the Jeep JL and JT. Looks a little different. And then you're going to get this locking hub assembly that's going to snap on to that unit bearing. And it's made by Mile Marker. So we know these guys. They make good parts, right? And then this axle shaft isn't going to come with it. But you're going to get this stub shaft that's been machined down to fit into this unit bearing and work with this locking hub differential. You are going to have to order, if you have, like this setup has the CV axle shafts, you are going to have to order inner axle shafts though from somebody, whoever you want. I prefer to work with Revolution. And so we ordered on top of that, we spent about $400 or $500 for a set of inner axle shafts and U-joints to go with it. So these are going to be 1350 U-joints, Spicer U-joints. So we got one piece inner axle shaft for the passenger side and a one piece inner axle shaft for the driver's side, which you're always going to have a one piece for the driver's side. But the passenger side, even though there's no FAD and all that, you still got two pieces in there with your connecting collar. And in this case, we're removing all that and we're going to be installing one solid chromoly axle shaft from Revolution. And then we put in the U-joint and we put on the stub shaft. So really when it comes down to it, the installation side of things, it's really not that hard, guys. And most people could do this in their driveway fairly easy. Take the brakes off, take the rotor off, take your spindle nut off your stub shaft that's in there now, unbolt the unit bearing, take out the entire axle assembly, put it to the side because you're not going to need it anymore. And then you're going to take your new Revolution or whoever chromoly inner axle shaft, put that guy in there with its, after you've assembled the stub shaft, the U-joint, put your new axle assembly in, or axle shaft assembly in, put your unit bearing on, bolt it up. Your locking hub is going to go right on there. It's just going to snap on, guys. This is really easy stuff. I'm excited about it. So far, it seems pretty cool. Can't wait to test drive it and then actually functionally test it. But right now, it's locked. And that was so when I showed you guys me turning the passenger side, how everything sort of turned together. Now, we're going to put it in the free position. It's no longer locked. So Ryan, if you get over with the camera, you can see that when I turn this thing, it's unlocked now. You might have to shake it back and forth to make it unlock, but it doesn't take that much. It's super easy. But I'm turning this whole assembly now, and nothing in the entire front drive line of it is turning. Your drive shaft's not turning, your ring and pinion's not turning, your other axle shaft is not turning. So your other wheel's not turning on the other side. So this is us in the lock position, turning it. Everything's gone, and then we'll put it in unlock. And so these things, locking hubs, there it goes. Sometimes they don't want to release right away. You gotta kind of shake it back and forth, and because the mechanism inside the locking hub is spring loaded, right? And if you try to unlock it and it's, maybe you're on an incline going uphill or downhill or something like that, that locking hub assembly, just because you turn that knob, those internals are still in tension. So you might need to go backwards a little bit or forwards a little bit just to rock it a little bit to get that spring to release and let those parts kind of disengage from each other so that your locking hub can actually unlock. But so far, I'm pretty I'm pretty happy with this. It looks like everything's working out really well. I think this is going to be a great option for people. So this is going to bring us back to basically what the Fad was doing. It's going to increase our fuel economy, but more importantly, it's going to relieve a lot of stress on this front end. As far as the driveline goes, we're not going to be prematurely wearing out any bearings in the internals. We're not going to be putting extra wear and tear on our front ring and pinion. Our drive shaft isn't going to be turning at the, let's face it, when we lift these things up and we put extra angle on those drive lines, that drive shaft, things wear faster. So it not turning in there, a lot of things are being saved by this. How well is this thing built? Well, it seems like everything's pretty good here. I mean, this outer part, this shiny piece, it's kind of chrome looking, that's metal. This part's plastic, probably a composite, super sturdy, super stout. A lot of things that we see in automotive that are plastic. The internal, the gears that lock together, those are not plastic, but this cage is. You could throw rocks at this stuff and say, oh my God, it's plastic or whatever. Yeah, and I totally get where you're coming from. However, we've been seeing this stuff in automotive for decades. Does it last as long as steel? No, but ideally, I don't know what this piece costs. So if this thing ever did break, it's probably not super expensive. I actually would probably recommend most people, if they do this conversion, like I said, I don't know how long this thing's gonna last. It looks good, but maybe getting an extra one of these to carry in the truck just in case. I believe they're universal to each side. Although Ram Man did put B on this part, B on that unit bearing, and B on that stub shaft, and A on all the other parts that we installed. So maybe they're functional, proprietary to each side. I don't think they are. But I might, if these things are cheap enough, like 40, 50 bucks, I might throw one in the back of the truck somewhere just in case it broke. But I'm really excited about this because this is something that's been begged for years, but we couldn't ever get around it because all this stuff in here was just too small. And really to get to locking up, you had to go up to like 6 on 5.5 before you could get to, or a 5.5 diameter bolt pattern to be big enough in there to fit the stuff for locking hubs, like Warren traditional Dana 60 locking hubs, that big. So this is really cool. Ever since the JK days, since 2007, or even maybe TJ's, I don't know. But I know in JK days, a lot of people were asking for something like this, what they call the free spin kits. We've seen companies like Terraflex make the 8-lug conversions to get to this point. But it's kind of nice to know that, for 2,200 bucks, basically, for 500 bucks and some axle shafts, you can release your front end from being in constant drive mode. I'm anxious to get this thing out and do a little bit of test driving with it. Setting it down on the ground and just driving up and down the highway isn't really going to tell me a whole lot. I don't want to go out and stress the guy's truck out for him, doing some extreme rock crawling and stuff like that. I don't know that this is something I would put on my truck for something like extreme rock crawling. And to be clear, we went this route without any concerns because we know the customer. He's not going to be doing any extreme rock crawling. He's going to be doing a lot of like overlanding, Forest Service trails, light duty rock crawling, not anything too crazy. So I'm not worried about this stuff for Vince. I think he's going to be solid with it. Same thing for the guy over here in the two-door that we're doing. I think these guys are going to be totally safe with this. I'm not selling the Ram Man products. I have nothing to gain by doing a video for this guy. I don't owe him anything. He doesn't owe me anything. I just thought it was really cool. It's kind of fun doing business with the guy, and I think it's just an awesome product. It's something that these axles are really going to need. Unless somebody comes out with something that'll bolt in down there at the Fad, maybe operated by a cable actuator or something, kind of like aux lockers do. Maybe somebody could develop something for these particular axles because I think we're going to see a lot more of them in Jeeps. We ran across these two by accident. We weren't even looking for them, and they happened to be here. I think it's a good solution overall for what most people are going to be doing with their Jeeps. So anyways, guys, for more information on off-roading and other cool stuff, click up here.
Theoretically, I can't make them no simpler. One piece is one piece.